To the Rescue, Chapter 3. At 5 minutes before 3 o'clock the next morning, the snow was still coming down hard. Mr. Little and Tom Little climbed up the telephone cord to the table in the hall of the Biggs' house. Each Little was carrying a big wad of cotton. "Now stuff the cotton under the telephone at this end," said Mr. Little. "That's where the bell is. The cotton will keep the phone from ringing loud." "Who's going to call us?" said Tom. "I thought we were going to call Aunt Lily and Cousin Dinky." "We are," said Mr. Little. "But we should stuff the bell just in case we get a call first." "Aren't we supposed to make calls if there's an emergency?" said Tom. "That's the plan, yes," said Mr. Little. "But we're going to call Aunt Lily anyway. You know her. She might try anything, and we don't want her to come out in the snowstorm." "I like her," said Tom. "She's terrific." "Let's get the receiver off the hook," said Mr. Little. The tiny man and his son pushed the heavy telephone receiver off the hook. It rested on the telephone above the dial. The dial tone buzzed. "You stand on one of the buttons, Tom," said Mr. Little. Tom got onto the telephone and did as his father told him. The receiver stopped buzzing. "Now we wait for the Biggs' grandfather clock to strike 3, said Mr. Little. "As soon as it does, you hop off the button, and I'll dial Dr. Dan Zigger's number." "What should I do if someone calls before that?" said Tom. "Just hop off the button as fast as you can," said Mr. Little. "We don't want the ringing to wake up any of the Biggs." At the same time, Aunt Lily and Cousin Dinky were waiting by the telephone at Dr. Dan Zigger's house. They had stuffed cotton under the bell of Dr. Zigger's telephone. The receiver was off the hook. Cousin Dinky was standing on one of the cutoff buttons, and Aunt Lily was standing by the receiver. "I'm sure they'll call," said Aunt Lily. "I feel it in my bones that the baby is on the way." "It's still snowing like mad," said Cousin Dinky. "You don't expect me to take you to Uncle Will's in this storm, do you?" "If they call, I certainly do," said Aunt Lily. "I was there when Tom was born, and I was there when Lucy was born. You might as well make up your mind. I'm going to be there when the baby is born." "Mother," said Cousin Dinky, "we can't." "You can fly in storms," said Aunt Lily. "You've flown in storms before." "That's different. I was alone." "I don't see the difference," said Aunt Lily. "If you can fly in a storm, we can fly in this storm if we have to. And that is that." "Not in my glider you won't," said Cousin Dinky. "I'm not getting you killed." "Now listen, Dinky dear," said Aunt Lily. "If the Littles call, it means that they need me. And I'm going to be there to help, one way or the other. Either you fly me there, or I walk. I go where I am needed, and that's that." "You couldn't walk there, Mother," said Cousin Dinky. "It's a 2-day trip in good weather." "I'll go." "Wow," said Cousin Dinky. "You really mean it, don't you?" The phone rang. Cousin Dinky was so busy talking he forgot to hop off the button and answer the telephone. When he finally remembered, the telephone had already rung for a few seconds. "Uh-oh," said Cousin Dinky. "I hope that didn't wake anybody up. Hello? Hello?" It was Mr. Little's voice coming from the receiver. "Cousin Dinky? Aunt Lily? Who's there?" Just then a light was turned on in the Ziggers' bedroom. Aunt Lily and Cousin Dinky could hear voices. Cousin Dinky jumped off the phone and stood by the receiver. "Hello, Uncle Will? This is Dinky," he whispered. "Dinky, hello, how are you?" said Mr. Little. Suddenly the door to the bedroom opened. Dr. Zigger came out. He was putting on his bathrobe. He walked toward the telephone, yawning. Aunt Lily and Cousin Dinky moved quickly. They slid down the telephone cord to the floor. Then they hid under the table and listened. "What's this?" said Dr. Zigger. "The phone is off the hook." He picked up the receiver. "Anybody there?" "What's that? A baby? Who's having a baby?" The doctor waited a moment. "No, this is not your Cousin Dinky. You must have the wrong number." Well, I'll be." He hung up. "What is it, dear?" It was Mrs. Zigger calling from the bedroom. "Anything wrong?" "Someone's having a baby, I think," said Dr. Zigger. "But I don't think it was for me. Wrong number." He hung up the receiver. "Strange." The doctor scratched his chin. "Oh, well, if it's for me, they'll call back." Dr. Dan Zigger walked toward the bedroom. He stopped and looked back. The phone was off the hook. How did the call come through? "That's odd, Ellen. Did you have the phone off the hook for some reason?" No answer. "Boy, I wish I could fall asleep like that. She must not have a worry in the world. Dr. Zigger closed the bedroom door and turned off the light. Aunt Lily grabbed Cousin Dinky by the arm. "The baby is coming," she said. "We've got to go. I must be there. The Littles need me or they wouldn't have called. You will be a dear, won't you, Dinky, and take me?" "I can hardly believe it," said Cousin Dinky. "They want us to fly in this storm." "It's an emergency," said Aunt Lily. "Something must be wrong. If it weren't an emergency, they wouldn't have called. They need a nurse." "I suppose you're right," said Cousin Dinky. "Let's get your things into the glider. We'll take off at dawn. With luck, the storm may be over by then." "That may be too late," said Aunt Lily. "We should leave now." "Oh, Mother," said Cousin Dinky, "do you know what you're asking me to do? I've never flown at night in my life."